that sense of who they are. Strong enough, because you don't have to worry about them getting the other half. If they go in the public school system, which if it doesn't destroy or injure them, it certainly is going to destroy their sense of self. We have to instill that. I've written a model. I didn't share much about the model here, but it's called the relationship model. And it has been found to be, of course it was tested, found to be effective by Northwest Regional Educational Laboratories that dealt with how you should deal with our children. How we should deal with our children. There are other models out there as well, and I would suggest that one of the problems we have as a black community is the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And that's why I am proposing a clearinghouse so we don't have to all reinvent the wheel over and over again. There are programs out there. I'd be happy to share that with you. And also on the website is a bibliography of some books that I think would be helpful.
Thank you.
Peace. My respect to you, sister, freedom fighter. I'd like to come with this question. Could you speak briefly to me or to us about the idea of the post-traumatic slavery syndrome effect upon us in the denial of honoring our freedom fighters and political prisoners who died and are being tortured today. But we, the very same people who deny their validity and even existence, pay homage to Patrick Henry and George Washington.
You know, post-traumatic slave syndrome takes on a lot of different areas. And when you start looking at the overseer mentality, when people don't want to seem like they're aligning themselves. I actually had a brother say recently in my community, which is kind of scary, that one of the problems he had with me and other people in the community is that I was too black. You know, he knew how to talk to white people, and it was, we just needed to learn how to be not so black, right? And some people believe that that's how you survive. You survive by being less black. And so that's part of what we've done, and is part of the reason why I think, and I'll say this, and I mean it seriously, that the first sign of spiritual development and maturity is to be able to delight in the success of your neighbor. And we don't delight in one another's success. We are threatened by it. And so what you're looking at there is that mentality of survival, learning how to survive in a hostile environment. Some of us are saying, well, I'm willing to take the risk to be real, to tell the truth, to honor what is true. And others say, well, I don't want Miss Ann to think that I'm too black, because I want to be able to get that job and keep that job, okay? And I'm not trying to belittle black people, because we're trying to survive, okay? And I know that. And while we can talk tough, we got to pay the bills, okay? I got drama jumping off now. I tell you, black people, if white people have a cold, black people have pneumonia. It's the truth. My car was stolen since I've been here. Okay, so the drama's always happening, and we are always having to deal with this. And yes, I'm Joy, and I'm the professor. Hey, but I got to go home and deal with drama, right? And I got to go to work, and I got to deal with people that don't like me, and I got all of that. I'm dealing with in a den of folks that don't necessarily respect what I'm doing and who I am, and I have to also survive. So I don't want us to be too judgmental. Because we've all had to do a lot of things we don't want to do to be able to just subsist, okay? So with that said, yeah, there has to be a balance there, and yeah, we must honor them always, but also understand that we're the walking wounded.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Jones. My question, I guess, resolves around, you made a point that when you went to Africa, you felt a connection. Can you speak towards the loss of connection when Africans come to America?
Absolutely. One of the things that happened, I did some work at Harlem Hospital recently with the chief psychiatrist there and his interns. And he wanted me to come and talk to them about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And when I walked in the room, seated all around this huge table were all these black people, and I was just thrilled to death. Not one of them was African American. Not one of them. All of them were African. And what was happening to them, because you got to appreciate this. They come into a country where just do the math. You figure out who's on the bottom, who's not respected, who it doesn't seem viable, all of that. And you're saying, I don't know how much I want to align myself, and what's wrong with y'all, by the way? Okay? And so what happens to them is they're trying to figure out what's going on. They don't understand. And when I explained to them what was happening, what black people have had to do to adapt to being in a hostile environment, all of a sudden their faces changed. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't understand why this woman said this and why she did this. And I didn't understand, because there's a disconnect. You know, and most likely you're not going to align yourself with the folks that you think are getting ready to get kicked to the curb, okay? So, you know, and I'm not saying, and that's not true of all Africans, but there's a fair number of folks that come in and they don't carry the same baggage, while at the same time, now, I was on a radio show and folks were trying to say to me, well, you know, the folks from the Caribbean don't have the same experience. I was at the keynote at the UN Conference on Race in Barbados. And when I was there, they had Africans throughout the diaspora there. They were translating in booths in different languages. People were crying to me in every language in the world, saying to me, I understand this discussion you're having on post-traumatic slave syndrome. Let me tell you what that looked like in Brazil. Let me tell you what that looked like in Barbados. Let me tell you what that looked like. So it's there. And that injury, if you have, and I believe that it requires those folks to have that conversation because they too are injured.
Greetings. My name is Ron Wright. I'm a New Yorker. Thank you for coming. Hope you come again. Based on what the Japanese have done, based on what the Jews and the Native Americans, what they have done, on your studies, do you feel, with respect to the elders who are in political arenas and religious arenas that are doing things, do you feel that is ignorant to just focus on reparations and not sovereignty?
Reparations and not sovereignty?
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by sovereignty.
Well, the people who asked for reparations, the Japanese, the Jews, and even Hawaiians, Native Americans, they all had a land base. So that's what made everything easier for reparations to flow. Nubians in America, brown people in America, don't have basically a section of land base that they could actually say that it's scattered around. They do, once they link themselves to certain tribes and things like that. But there are people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and other people who ask just for reparations and have no land base. Based on your studies of post-traumatic slavery, how do you feel about that?
I think that, you know, my husband and I were talking about this recently, the whole idea of ownership. And part of what, I don't know if there's something, a psychic problem within African American peoples that make us feel like we can't own things. Maybe it's because we've been owned. But we tend to not realize the need to own things. And principally land, we need to own it. And I'm going to say it one more time, we need to own Harlem. And we have enough black wealth to own Harlem. That's absolutely ridiculous what's happening in Harlem. Yes, in fact, we do need to have that. Yeah, I don't know, we'll probably won't get the 40 acres and a mule, but the point is that you're absolutely right. We do need to have those things. I don't know that the answer lies in any one thing. Let me say this too, and I think this is very important. The African American community's voice can no longer have the capacity to be stilled by a single shot. We can't afford that. We don't need a leader. We need leadership. We need our children to be leaders. We need it to be so pervasive and so spread out across this country that they can't find a target. Okay? And the bottom line is that that's what's required. A collective work and responsibility. What you know about those groups is the ability to come together. We still don't trust each other. I swear to God, I've never seen, you talk about crabs in the barrel. You know, we are unable to trust. If I go to a job right now, go to a job interview and there's another sister there going for the job and there's a white person going for the job, she's going to feel better if the white person gets it. She'll go, okay, good, great. But she's going to question why I got it. Okay? And this is part of our pathology around being able to assist each other. So that's part of the issue of owning and land and sovereignty and all that. We got to be able to come together, which we haven't gotten there yet.
Thank you.
I was the lady in the back who said, you got all the time in the world. My name is Michelle Heath. I'm the author of 7 Principles to Become Your Own Superhero. I used to be over 200 pounds, and in that process of trying to lose weight and change my life and not be so beat down and run over and pull up my self-esteem, etc., I'm telling you, I used to get arrows thrown at me left and right. You losing more weight? You don't look that good. Over and over and over and over and over. I mean, these were women who were as big as couches. I mean, they just did not care. Now, my question is this. Today,